right, you guys, this episode 31 of War Stories. Without further ado, I'm going to get straight into it. For those of you that give a care or those of you that don't give a care, let me just say that I did cut episode 36 of Inner Demons just a little while ago. I sent the video to Sandman. He's editing it right now. Let's hope that I got it right this time. This is the second time I cut that video. And like I said, I'm a stickler when it comes to perfection. Although none of these videos are perfected, hopefully it was good enough to at least make the cut. So we will see. In the meantime, in between time, I'm going to drop a war story for you guys. So I'm going to take you guys back to 2003. And some of you might remember what was going on back then. Some of you might not. So let me kind of set the stage and talk a little about what was going on at that time. So this is at kind of like the tail end of Operation Black Widow, although it's still in effect. It's still being talked about out there. And a lot of us were still worried about getting caught up in that investigation. Me, Baby Joker, Pocky from Salinas was still out there. Bubba, Wino, a lot of the cats that would end up getting caught up in Operation Valley Star were still out there. Now, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. If I didn't get caught up in Santa Clara when I did, there was no question about the fact that I was going to get indicted in either Operation Valley Star or Operation Black Widow. I was an unindicted co-conspirator in both of these cases. I know this because I had the paperwork when I was in Santa Clara County Jail. The police reports came out where basically the feds had contacted the agency that ended up taking my regiment down like a week prior to them raiding all of our houses. They were ready to wrap me up and get me caught up in one of those two investigations. But these guys were like, look, we're already 90% done on this case right here. We got them wrapped up, game tight on a state case. This is a life case. He's a 3-striker, so let us take him down. We're ready to pull the trigger. So luckily, they let them because the feds, obviously, they didn't indict me. They let them do their thing. They agreed to concede, and I didn't get caught up in none of that shit. And it's a good thing I didn't because they would have washed my ass up. Anyways, things would have definitely been different had I went that route. I probably would have been in federal prison right now. Anyway, so 2003, I had just paroled from Corcoran. This was the first time as an adult that I would ever be off parole. At the age of 33, I discharged. It was my second number, and I got out off parole. I wasn't on paper. I did not know how to act. I'm going to be honest with you guys, man. Parole always kept me in check because I always knew that there was a possibility of a parole officer or a law enforcement officer coming through and doing a random search at any given time. Whenever you're on parole, you don't have search and seizure. You don't have those rights no more. So you're subjected to being searched at any given time. So I kept the house clean. I never kept contraband over there, never kept dope over there, never kept my communications at the pad. I always had a safe house or somewhere where I kept my shit. So 2003, I ended up paroling from Corcoran. I discharged for a brief minute. I went back up to Ukiah. I was just going to kick back with Vicky for a while and kind of just let things cool down. Like I said, Operation Black Widow was still heating up. And, you know, I was trying to just stay off the radar. However, I'm still connected. I still have obligations that I still had to fulfill. So I'm in touch with, at that time I was in touch with Bubba, Wino, Pocky from Salinas. Plus I believe at that time I still had an open line to Joker from Watsonville, Baby Joker. So at one point, you know, they bust my bubble and tell me, hey, B, Corny and them want you to plug in. Your R&R time is over. They want you to plug in. They got some directives that they need to get to you. Cool. So I send a visitor down. I drive all the way out to Santa Rita. I ended up meeting, I swear I can't get away from this dude. At that time, I believe Lencho was in on a parole violation. However, I met Peggy. because she had some directives or something that she needed to pass to me that came from Skip and some other stuff that we needed to discuss. So I met her out in front of Santa Rita. I had a visitor, and I sent my visitor in to pull Pinky out. I get my directives. My directives are basically, they tell me, B, you need to relocate to Santa Clara County. We need you out there. There was a regiment. Goose was running. Chico from Salinas was out there. However, they both got indicted. They were both on freeze by then. I believe it was pretty clear that Chico was cooperating. Goose, at that time, I don't think I knew his status, but they were both gone, and they were part of leadership, and everybody that was under them had dispersed. So, basically I was told, go back out there, find everybody that was plugged in, Gato, Marquez, and they mentioned a few other names. Find these individuals, get them all back up and on track, and get that regiment running. I've told you guys before that when it comes to going out there on the streets and getting these regiments up and running, getting everybody to work together, I was good at that. And leadership knew that. That's why I was always getting sent to different counties, and I was being appointed as the regimental commander over there because I was good at it. And like I said, leadership knew that. So now they shot me over to Santa Clara County. And I'm going to be honest, when they told me that they wanted me to go to Santa Clara County, I wasn't happy about it. Going to Salinas was bad enough. And I felt like I basically had dodged a bullet because I didn't get caught up out there. I got a parole violation, which, I would have rather been out there on the streets free, obviously, but I took that parole violation as a blessing because it kept me away from Achali and everything that he was doing out there. And he was waiting for me. There were individuals that were working with him, and he kept saying, hey, B's coming out, and, can't wait till he comes home and this and that. But I know what his agenda was, and I would have just got caught up in all that. So anyway, I end up packing everything up and lugging everything out to San Jose. I get out there. You guys know the rest of the story. I end up finding everybody, do all the grunt work, get everybody up and on track. So when everything was peaking and everything was established out there, the limousine company was up and running. At that time, I had like 20 to 25 members that were functioning within the regiment. We were generating a lot of money. There were some situations that developed where people were coming short with dope, or other people ended up losing dope where they had to get dealt with. At some point, there were a lot of different situations that eventually I'll talk about, but this one in particular, it kind of drug on, and there were multiple people that were involved, and it was one of those things. So I ended up moving into that apartment complex I told you guys about, the same spot where these Crips were living at, and I was working with them. And there was another individual that I started working with, and I don't have a problem with saying his name because this is something it came up in our case. Obviously, he talked about it. He put it all out there. So I put him out there. I don't, this has already been discussed. So this individual, Chewy, from San Jose, wanted to work with us. At that time, he was still in good standings, obviously. He said that he could move some dope, and I fronted him. I don't remember how much it was. It was a couple ounces or something like that. At the most, a quarter pound. Whatever it was, I fronted it to him in good faith. He said he could move it. He understood the consequences. This is regiment dope, and if you fuck the money off or you don't pay the money back, everybody out there knows what happens when you fall in debt with the regiment. This is organization money. It's not my money. It's organization money. It's money that's accounted for. So anyway, I don't remember the exact circumstances, but he was put in pocket. At some point, he couldn't produce the money. Whether he got burned, I don't remember the exact. I believe There was another individual that got involved, and he's dead, so I'll talk about him. Jerome. Jerome was a Norteño, but he was an Asian cat that ended up getting caught up out there with some other shit. But I believe he said Jerome had burned him for the dope, something like that. So that's another story for another day that I'll talk about. But the bottom line is Chewy was accountable for that money and he couldn't produce it. I gave him ample opportunity to pay the money back. And there was one situation where the first time that he came by my apartment complex, because a lot of times that's where I would meet a lot of the regiment members. I'd have them come over to my apartment complex in Campbell. And in the back of the complex, there was a carport. That's where everybody parked their cars. And I had my El Camino parked right there. And that I used to call my El Camino my office, because when somebody would come talk business, I'd get in my El Camino and hey, let's step in my office. So we sit there and we talk business. And this is the first time that Chewy came over and told me that he couldn't pay the money back. Now that day, I remember there was like 7 or 8 of 7 or 8 homies that were part of the regiment at that time. They were all just out there kicking back. We were out there just chilling, talking business and drinking and fixing some of the cars that we had out there. So homeboy said he couldn't produce the money. At that time, I told him, check it out. I'm putting you on notice right now that I don't care how you lost that dope. I don't care how you get the money. If you need to rob a bank, if you need to go pull some licks, hit some licks right now, whatever you need to do in order to get that money, you need to do it, because I'm not going to cover that money. That's regiment money. It's accounted for. You were advised of this before I put you in pocket. So go get that money. And I'm going to give you a week. I gave him a week to get the money. After a week, I just told him, if you don't get the money within a week, there's going to be serious consequences. Just leave it at that. So he understood with that, man. If you don't get the money, you're going to get mollywopped. Somehow, some way, it's going to come out your ass, but you're going to pay that money back. Anyway, a week goes by, nothing happens. He falls off the map. I can't get a hold of him. He's not returning phone calls. So I'm like, okay, let's turn up the heat on this cat, because out there, I have a responsibility as a regimental commander. I'm responsible for that dope. And like I said, it's accounted for. And everything that I was doing is, I wasn't being micromanaged. I wouldn't function like that. But I had to let those that were my channels at that time know what was going on, how much money was being made out there, how much dope we had in pocket, how much profit we were making, what money was coming back from the criminal activities. Because it's like when you're regimental commander and this money is being generated out there, depending on the size of the regiment and how many members are in the regiment, there's a lot of things you need to know about the managing the money. It's on a sliding scale, and it's based on how big the regiment is, how many people are working in that regiment, and how much money you're generating from the criminal activities. Criminal activities, anything that's criminal, selling dope, robberies, hitting licks, whatever it is. So I had to let my channels know that that money wasn't accounted for and that he was responsible for it. So that's what I did. So anyway, he's not returning phone calls. He's not trying to reach back out and resolve the issue, which I'm like, okay, so from this point on, now if we see him, I let everybody know. If you guys see him out there on the streets, kidnap the motherfucker. Get him, snatch him up, and bring him, call me up. Don't bring him to the house. That's not what I told him. I would remember that. I told him, just if you guys see him, snatch the motherfucker up, put him in the car, and call me. So these guys that are from San Jose that have been out there in the streets, that are running around out there, that know the streets. And a lot of them were keeping their ears to the ground as far as like where he was at, what he was doing, who had seen him. So they were keeping their eyes and ears out for him, and they got a line on him. They found out where he was staying, and a couple cats called me and they were like, B, we know where he's at. We're over here and such at this spot. He's like a mile away. What do you want us to do? Supposedly he's there now. We got somebody that's over there with him and he don't even know it. Like, so I tell him, go over there, and when you get there, get up in this spot and call me. Call me when you have them there. So that's what they do. And the individuals that I'm referring to, they're hitters. They're hitters. They were about their business out there. When it came to any type of violence or any type of situation like that where somebody needed to be dealt with hands-on with weapons or whatever the case was, these two were usually either it was them two or they were part of the team that would participate to go and take care of something like this. So anyway, they go over there, they get to this dude's spot, and he don't know that they knew where he was at. They make their way to his pad, and he opens up the door, and they slide up in there. They slide up in there. Supposedly there was somebody else there. He leaves. They let him leave. They tell him kick rocks. He's another active homie. He's not going to say nothing. They knew who he was. He's like, hey, I'm out. That's on him. So they call me up. They got him sitting in the kitchen. They call me up. One of them steps out of the kitchen, goes in the other room. And he's like, B, we got him right here. We got him sitting in the chair. What do you want us to do? And I tell him, beat his motherfucking ass, whoop his motherfucking ass, hold him down, sit him in that chair, tie him to the chair, whatever you guys need to do, tie him up in the chair and whoop his ass. So that's what they did. And again, this is already something that was talked about. Even though these homies' names are already out there, I know that they don't have no desire to be mentioned on YouTube. So I'm going to keep it respectable for them. I'm still in contact with both of them, and I still got a lot of love and respect for both of them. But they tie him down. I can actually hear it while it's going down. They commence to whooping this fool's ass. They elephant man this cat. Basically, they beat him until his eyes were closed. And I know some of you, you guys got to understand, I'm not glorifying violence. This is the ugly part of this lifestyle, situations like this. I'm only telling you guys about this because this is what happens out there in the streets. This is what we used to do. So they go in on this dude and they're whooping him, and they put their burners on, their gloves, and they're like, bro, this fool's lumped up. We fucked him up pretty good. And like I said, I'm on the phone. I'm listening as they're doing it. They set the phone down and they started doing their thing. So they walk out. One of them walks out because I didn't want him to hear that they were talking to me on the phone. I didn't want to be mentioned nowhere in that, even though I'm sure he knew what was up. He knew that they were part of the regiment and he knew that I was behind it, but still, I'm not going to validate that. So the homie goes into the other room and he's like, well, what do you want us to do? And I was like, check it out. Untie him, bro. Don't leave him tied up in the chair. Untie him and tell him that he's got another week to pay that money back. They tell him next time it's going to be worse. So I'd advise you to get that money. So anyways, they untie him and they split. I end up hearing about it on the street. Some people that people were talking about it, that he ended up getting beat up, and he was putting it out there on the streets who beat him up, and just talking openly about it within certain circles, and it was getting back to me. So I already kind of felt like he didn't have the intentions on getting that money back. He didn't still made no effort to call and was like, "Hey B, I'm trying to get that money back right now. I'm trying to borrow it, or I'm trying to do whatever I got to do to get it." So at some point, he's got a little, I want to say it's his primo. He's younger than him, so I think it is his primo. So he had a little primo that was a baller, and I'm not gonna mention his name, even though again this is something that was talked about. I'm just out of respect. There's no need for me to mention names. So he's confronted a couple regiment members that seen him. They ran into him and they confront him. "Hey, what's up with your Theo? Your Theo gonna pay that money back? It's gonna be all bad for him if he doesn't pay that money back." And he's concerned. Obviously, this is his family. He's like, "Look, what does he need to do to get his name clear? What does he need to do? How much money does he owe?" They tell him. He says, "I'll pay that back. I'll pay that to clear it all up, to get him, to get him off the hook, and so that this will go away. I just want it to all go away, and I don't want him to have, to catch any more flack behind this." Obviously, he already caught some. He knew that he got beat up already. He got elephant manned, and he didn't want no more part of that. So he agreed that he would pay it that week, that he just needed to get the money together. So cool, all good. So anyway, within that week, I have a couple individuals reach out to him because it had already been a few days and he didn't make no effort to get back at him. So I'm like, "Hey, call that cat and ask him what's up. Give us an update on where you're at with getting that money together." So now his position is starting to change. He's like, "Hey, well, I'm having a hard time, getting this money together. So, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it." And so he's starting to flip flop. And, the homies relay that back to me, and I tell them, nah, man. So here's the thing. I'm not into bullying people. I'm not into strong arming people. But, something that I do believe in, and I've always been somebody that pushes this type of line, is if you open your mouth and you say you're going to do something, you're obligating yourself. Nobody twisted his arm and told him that he had to pay that money. He stepped up and he basically obligated himself. Once he told them two brothers that he was going to take care of that debt, that was a done deal. However, now he starts to get kind of mouthy. He starts to get chesty, and he's like, "Fuck that. My Theo already got the shit beat out of him. It was fucked up the way you guys did him. And, I don't know about, if I even want to get involved in this shit now. This shit's just starting to fucking smell like shit." And so he's talking shit. So I'm like, "Okay, all right, so let's do this then. Get that individual, get him, and you guys hook up with them and tell them that you guys are gonna go take them to lunch or something, or go out, take them to a spot. And you guys are just gonna go kick it." So that's what they do. They get them under the pretense that they're gonna go to a spot and have a couple drinks and just chill. So the homie calls me, "Hey B, we got him. He's in the car, bro. There's two carloads of us. He's in the car in front of me. He's in the car with such and such, and he has no idea anything's going on. He didn't even know about the second car that was following him. He just thought he was with the homies that were in the car with him." So I'm like, "Okay, so stall time, give me a little bit and I'll meet you guys." I don't know if San Jose still. I still fucking used to get lost in Campbell. So I don't know if it was the west side, south side, east side, north side. I don't fucking know. But I told him to meet me somewhere over there. I can't even remember what area. I want to say it was somewhere on the south side by some big park. So I call some of the other regiment members, and I tell them I want them all to be there because I wanted this situation to serve as an example. What happens when somebody fucks off regiment money and they don't pay it back? I wanted this to serve as an example. I wanted to show people what, even though these were regiment members, it wasn't a threat to them. I just wanted them to see how we dealt with situations like this. That's all it was. So they're driving around with this dude. They drive him to a restaurant. They're inside eating. By then, I got over there where I was at. I'm in the car with somebody else. And I pull up in the parking lot and I can see them in the restaurant. Actually, through the window, see them, they're eating. And this guy is oblivious to what's going on. He's got a whole regiment. The whole San Jose regiment is out there surrounding that. Basically, we're all around that restaurant. And he's in there fucking shoving potatoes and gravy in his fucking mouth, whatever he was eating, and has no idea. So homeboy calls me and he's like, hey B, we're getting ready to split. Where you want to take this cat? And again, I didn't know my way around out there. I'm like, I don't know. You tell me, bro. Where's there a good spot? Where's there a park that's kind of, that's not crowded? It's a park we can take them somewhere where we can take care of what we need to take care of. So they tell me a park, and it's, I don't even want to speculate what the name of the park was. I was trying to think of it earlier, but it's on the south side. For those of you that know that area, throw it in the comments. You'll probably, I can't remember it right now, the name of that park. For those of you that know that area, so it's a big ass park, and when you pull up to it, it's got a ramp that goes down and then it goes into the park. So they come out of the restaurant and we all get in our cars and we're following the lead car now that has him in the car. So they get over to the park, and this dude don't know. I'm not in the car with them, so I don't know what they're telling them. I don't know, how they made them feel comfortable, where they were going, what they told them. Hey, we're gonna go to the park and chill. We're gonna drink some beers. We're gonna go over there and fucking play football. I don't know what the fuck they told them. I'm lightweight joking, but I'm serious. I don't know what they told them to make them feel like, why are you guys bringing me over here? I forget. I'm sure they told me, but I just don't remember. Anyway, so we get to the park. They pull up, they park, I pull up, and like 3 other cars pull up. They get out of the car. Now, all these other cars that pull up, now we're all getting out. There's like 20 of us now. There was like just 3 of them, but now there's like 20 fucking people that just and we're all regiment. Everybody from the regiment was there. And again, I had some hitters on my team at that time. I had a lot of youngsters that were with the business that liked this type of shit right here. So I had a pistol on me and I had a blade. I didn't know how I wanted to deal with this individual yet, but he was either going to get diced up or he was going to get dumped out there. That's what I was thinking. Now, when I got out there, the homie that was in the car with me was, a lot of the times he was the voice of reason. Now, again, this wasn't going to be a message to the regiment members. Everybody that functioned within the regiment was on point, and there was no threat. That I wasn't trying to communicate any kind of threat to them, but I just wanted them to see how we dealt with an individual like this that refused to pay back organization money. I was a C. I was responsible for this money, and this was a northerner, an active northerner, and it was what it was, man. So anyways, but the homie was telling me on our way over there, it's like, B, because I told him this is what we're gonna do. I laid it out for him, and I'm like, I had it already envisioned in my mind what I was gonna tell him and how I wanted it to go down. And I'm glad that the homie was the voice of reason for me out there at times like this. There were a few occasions where he had to put everything in perspective for me. B, check it out. I know what you're saying, bro. I understand your position and I respect that. But bro, just think about this. If we do this and we do that and we do this, this might happen right here. And do you really think it's worth it? Sometimes I didn't always use foresight. And that was good that the homie that I'm talking about, that a lot of the times he pointed this stuff out to me because, I'm human. I make mistakes. I don't always get it right. And I was thinking reckless. And, I tried to avoid violence when I could. But at times like this, sometimes I was a little reckless because I wanted it to serve as an example. So anyway, we all pull up, and like I said, I got a pistol on me and I got a blade. And I had envisioned that I was gonna do it a certain way, that I was gonna my plan was this. We were gonna walk him down into the park, and I was gonna talk to him and kind of lay everything out and see where he was at, where his mind was at, and see what he was gonna say about everything that I was gonna tell him. And that's how I was gonna respond. If he was gonna try to get chesty, he was gonna get laid down. We were gonna knock him down, and he would have had a bad day. If he was gonna try to correct that situation, then chances are he would probably walk away from that park. So it was a real situation. And for those of you that think I'm being dramatic, think what you want. There was 20 of us there at that park, and everybody knows how serious I was about it, this situation. And those that were there, that knew what was going on and that seen everything that was going on, they know. So I'm not hyping this up. I'm not over dramatizing this. It is what it is. I had a responsibility to set these kind of examples and to get that money back. Otherwise, I'm on the hook for that money. It's got to come from somewhere. Leadership is, at the end of the day, man, they're going to want that money to come from somewhere. And if it ain't coming from out there on the streets, from the people that owe it, it's going to come from me. That's who it's going to fall back on. So that's where a lot of my anger came from, is when I got put in situations like this where people fucked off a good amount of dope because we trusted them and they wanted to work with us. Then they wanted to play that game where I can't get the money back. Sure, you can. I know you don't want to go rob a bank, but unfortunately, when you put yourself in that situation, you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do to get that money back, period. If you got two legs and two arms, you're well capable of going out and doing whatever you need to do to get it back, period. That's how I used to look at it. So anyway, when we all get out the cars, this dude's face, it's like I seen all the blood just leave from his face. It drained from his face, and he turned pitch white. It's like he looked around. He's like, fuck, I just walked right into this one. These motherfuckers straight played me. So, when I walked up, I'm like, hey, what's up? Such and such. What's going on, homie? And he just looked and was like, what's up, Box? And I'm like, bro, let's take a walk. Let's take a walk, bro. We need to talk about something. And I remember when we're walking down that ramp, we were all walking down the ramp. It's literally a crowd surrounded him. He was like right here, but he was surrounded. But I remember looking over at him and thinking like, this dude could be walking to his death. And he was. But honestly, I knew he couldn't have run. It's not like he could have just ran, because it's almost like a pack of wolves that when they surround their prey, they're all kind of like just following, making circles and just watching their prey, sizing them up. And they're not going to strike yet. They're going to strike when they're ready to strike. But if their prey tries to run, that's what's going to trigger it. That's what's going to kick it off. So I knew he couldn't run. That wasn't an option. What was he going to do? Try to talk his way out of it? I don't know. We'll see. But I just remember out of my peripheral watching this dude just laughing like, I bet you're regretting, talking all that tough guy shit, the other day when the homies called you. So anyway, we get down to a little area. So we end up stopping at there's like a picnic table. There's a spot where we stop and some of the homies sit at the table and he's just standing there. So I stand right in front of him and the other homies, they just kind of like, they're all behind him and they're all around him. He's surrounded. He can't go nowhere. I remember standing in front of him and I tell him like this. I said, check it out, homie. I'm gonna just tell you like this, bro. You already know the situation with your Theo. You know what happened. And at some point, you opened up your mouth and you obligated yourself to pay that debt so that this would all go away. Nobody twisted your arm. You called such and such and you told them that you were willing to take care of that debt. Now, whatever happened, and at that point, he started talking. He just was like, wait, check it out, whoop, whoop, whoop. And he lightweight kind of got fucking mouthy a little bit. And I was like, bro, check it out. I'm going to tell you this. I'm only going to tell you one time. Look around you, bro. Look around you. So I told him, before you speak, think about what you're saying. Because if you say the wrong thing, you're going to have a bad day, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to give you the benefit of the doubt. But if this is the way you're gonna act, bro, you're gonna have a bad day, homie. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm telling them this, like literally the homies are like inching towards them. They're like coming closer and the circle's getting smaller and smaller. So anyway, I'm standing in front of them and at one point I put my hands in my pocket and I grab my blade and I open it up in my pocket. And I tell him, I'm like, look, check it out, homie. Your Theo, he's been around. He's been out here with other regiments. He knows what time it is. He knows that the last thing you want to do is take some clavo from the regiment and not pay it back. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you lost it. It doesn't matter if somebody burns you. All that really matters is that he pays that money back. Nobody told you to step up and offer to pay. When you stepped up and you called the homie and you said, you know what, I want to pay it so that this will go away. And, I don't want him to get no more of what he got at his spot. You obligated yourself, bro. So think about what you're saying, homie. Think about what you're saying before you open your mouth. I'm just telling you, man. If he would have said anything from that point on crazy, if he would have said something stupid, I was just going to fucking take my blade and stab him in his fucking face, wherever it landed, in his eyeball, in his motherfucking mouth, in his nose. It didn't matter. And from that point on, they would have been all over him. And how far it would have went, I don't know. I really can't tell you, and I don't even want to get into all that. I had bad intentions, I'll tell you that. And it could have went one of two ways, obviously, but it didn't. He ended up saying a lot of the right things. He started to talk himself out of it. Hey, you know what? You're right. I did obligate myself. I'll make sure that I get that money together by tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll have it ready. And, there's no excuses. My bad. I was wrong. Hopefully this will also clear up, the issues with my Theo. At the end of the day, I don't want him to catch any more grief over this. And I'm obviously not trying to get caught up with the homies. I don't get involved in politics or none of that. I just do my thing. So from that point on, man, he said everything that he needed to say. And I thought about still, for a brief minute, I thought about packing him out. But then, like, what was that really going to do? He had basically conceded and agreed to pay that money back. He acknowledged that he was wrong. So to pack him out would have just created more bad feelings. It would have maybe made the situation worse, not only for him, but for myself, possibly, because then I would have had to do something to him or had somebody else do something to him. And I wasn't really trying to go there. Situations like that, I would like to avoid them. But if they do develop, I'll deal with them accordingly. And, he walked away from the park that day and he ended up paying that money back. However, things still ended up being funny for his deal, because even though, I put it out there on the streets that his deal was clear, that he didn't have to worry about it, that nothing else was going to happen to him, he lost the trust in the homies, which is understandable. They damn near they damn near beat him to death. And once that line's crossed and somebody puts their hands on you, it's understandable that it's kind of hard to put trust back in those people. So he got busted. He elected to come into the county jail while I was there and go to PC. I was there. I remember when he came in, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, straight up. I was a man of my word. As a C, if I gave somebody my word, I kept my word. I told him I was going to clear him, and he was cleared. If he would have came in and he would have went to the snake pits or the fourth floor or Elmwood or anywhere in that jail, he would have been okay. He wouldn't have caught no flack from that situation. If anything would have happened to him, it would have been because of something else that might have come up. But like I said, his primo, he took care of it. He paid the debt, and it was a done deal. I'm sorry there's no blood. Sorry nobody got shot. Nobody got stabbed. It was pretty close. But it was just one of the things that happened out there, within the regiment. And, it's street politics. Some of you, like to hear about things that happen out there in the regiment like that. So it's a quick one. Like I said earlier, I dropped episode 36 of Inner Demons. So at least hopefully I can get these two out to you guys tonight. Anyway, I'll try to get another couple episodes out tomorrow of war stories. I'll hit you guys with the Inner Demons episode 38. Is it 37? 38, 37, I believe, in the next day or two. I want to catch you guys up with a few war stories. There's a couple I want to tell you guys. So I'm going to get on those tomorrow. Anyways, this episode 31 of War Stories, I hope you guys enjoyed it. This your boy B. Hopefully it makes the cut, and I'm out.